as a personal trainer, there are a lot of questions that I get on a daily basis that leave my head scratching. Number one, how can you spot reduced belly fat? You can't. Calorie deficit. The next one that I hear quite a bit is about greens powder. It's doing nothing for you really. It's just, sure, it could be boosting your main vitamins and minerals, but what's wrong with actually eating fucking veggies and fruits? But then the next one that I get is, what's better, barbells or dumbbells? And that's actually going to be the topic of today's video. So in order to figure out which one's better, spoiler, nothing is better than the other. In order to figure out, or at least get closer to a grain of truth for it, we have to look at what each one does differently. So for those who don't know what I'm talking about, this is a dumbbell. They can come round, hexagonal like so. They come in a variety of different weights. I have all the way up to 95. We have the barbell. The barbell is, of course, this long piece of metal. Standard, especially for a men's bar, is 25 kilos. But if you're a red-blooded American, that's 45 pounds. And then you have external plates that you slide onto the end to get your total amount of weight. And every gym bro knows that 45 right here and 45 equals 135. Comment if you know what I'm talking about. So now that we're introduced to each piece of equipment, we'll talk about a little bit more about what each one does. So there are a few things with dumbbells to keep in mind. One is that it is inherently going to be more unstable because you have to spend energy to stabilize two pieces of metal floating above your head versus just one. So it isn't inherently bad, but it will lessen the likelihood of you expressing the most amount of force and strength possible. So if your number one goal is to build strength, maybe taking less dumbbell work is a good option for you. Second is with the dumbbells, because they are separate, you can get through a fuller range of motion on most of your exercises, which if your main goal is to build muscle, that is something excellent because you're able to get a big full stretch, full range of motion in order to help contribute to your goal. And then lastly, with the dumbbells, a good benefit is they take up so much less space and it's easier to get set up with dumbbells versus a with a barbell. You know, if it's a very packed gym at 5 o'clock at night on a Monday, you'd be very hard pressed to find a bench press or anything really open. So if you want to get some quick work in, going for dumbbells, because there's usually a lot more of them and they're a lot easier to grab, you can get through your workout much faster and much more efficiently than trying to have to fight through load plates on and load plates off. And so make sure to keep all of those in mind going forward. So generally speaking, with barbell exercises now, barbell exercises are usually done in a more stable environment. And when you are stable, you can provide more force output. You know, so for example, if you are someone who is training for strength, do not stand on a Bosu ball and squat. That is just the number one way to fuck yourself up. And then we'll just digress from there. And another great thing about doing barbell work is you can get into a lot more compound movements where you have multiple muscles working together to complete the action. And in doing so, that can actually keep your workouts much shorter. Because if you do, 3 or 4 exercises of compound movements and they're done with sufficient enough weight, with good enough technique, you will be very tired. You'll probably be even so tired to where you can't go to the gym the next day. And that's okay. Just because if you incur that fatigue, you have to let it wash out. And then lastly, what we find with barbell work is it actually enhances other parts of your life. So if I get stronger on like my bench, squat, and deadlift, primarily the squat and deadlift, what I can do out in my daily life, especially even now working as a carpet cleaner who has to go in and bag up water damaged carpet and padding, that sure as shit helps me get strong enough to lift that wet bag of pad up over my shoulder, carry my happy ass out the stairs, and load it into a truck. The best way to look at dumbbells versus barbells is not versus each other, but complemented with. Because ultimately, what you do well with one thing will transfer over to the other thing. You know, the bigger and thicker your muscles get from the dumbbell work you do, the more potential force you have to admit with your strength. And then the more strength you have, the higher weights you can use for your accessory work. So it is a very, very dumbed down version of what is truly going on. It's a lot more complex than that. I understand it. But starting out, like, those are just few things to keep in mind where you shouldn't be doing just one thing. You need a variety of things. And let that be the main takeaway today, that as starting out, a variety is much better. And then as you become an intermediate and advanced lifter, getting more specialized and specific at what you do, how you do it, and when you do it will ultimately make a much bigger difference than what it does than starting out. So if you need any help and you like the sound of this, go on to myfitnessguide.lan.com to where you can fill out our free no sweat intro to have a chat with myself. This has been Coach Max, your guide on the side with My Fitness Guide. We'll see you later.